So a couple of years ago, I did a video on all the Facebook ad objectives, and that's actually been one of my most watched videos. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go ahead and check it out right here. However, there have been some updates since then, and there are even more objectives to cover this time around. Doing a very rough count, there's about 32 different objectives that you can choose from. Now, the reason I can't even give you an exact number is because I actually don't know myself, because in going through the process and counting all of them, it gets very complicated, because the main thing that has changed is that when you choose your conversion location in addition to your conversion objective, you will get different options for different objectives. Now, while that sounds super overwhelming, don't worry, a lot of them are actually extremely repetitive, so I will point that out as this video goes along, but there's a lot to cover. So in this 2.0 version of all of Meta's ad objectives, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so Meta has 6 broad categories of objectives: awareness, traffic, engagement, leads, app promotion, and sales. However, every single time you click on one of these, there are sub-objectives that you can choose from. So here from this initial screen, it looks nice and simple, but you'll see as we go on, it can get a little bit more complicated. But we're gonna start right at the top and make our way down and cover each and every single objective and sub-objective at the same time. So starting with awareness, if we go right here, so awareness, you want to choose this overall objective if you just want to generate awareness. It is a very literal type of goal right there, very easy to understand and to process. But once you click on here, the different sub goals are very different. So you can choose maximize the reach of your ads, and then maximize the number of impressions, maximize ad recall lift, through plays, and then 2-second video views, right? So here you can see what I mean by every single time you select an objective, there's all these sub-objectives that you can actually choose from as well. So let's cover these one by one. Maximize the reach of your ads. This is to get in front of as many unique individuals as possible. So if you, for example, live in a town of 100,000 people and you want all 100,000 people to see your ad regardless of whether or not they're a good fit for your business, this is a great one to choose, because it will focus on getting in front of as many unique individuals as possible. Whereas number of impressions right here, it's not going to necessarily be getting in front of unique people all the time. It's just going to maximize the number of impressions, which means the same person could see your ad 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 6 times, whatever it is that you can imagine. While there are certain limits that you can control and set so that the same person doesn't see the same ad 10 times, for example, you can avoid that. But this is just to kind of drive the point home that it doesn't really care about individual unique impressions. It just cares about overall impressions. So if you're more concerned about getting in front of the right people multiple times, then this is probably the better option for you. And then maximize ad recall lift. Right here, actually, we'll just read it because it's a pretty simple description and it does make sense. We'll try to show your ads to people who are likely to remember seeing them. So if you are, this is really good if, particularly if you're a small business in a small town. If you're brand new and you just need to know, you need people to know that you just exist, then this is the objective that you want to be going with. So you may not be promoting anything specific, any specific product, but you just want to say, hey, we're open, we're here for business, please come by. That would be a good option to choose. And it's not going to be optimizing to get in front of unique people or as many impressions as possible as the previous two. It's just going to be getting in front of people who are most likely to remember your business. So all 3 of these are very different and very unique objectives. I would say for the most part, these are really good for small businesses working in a smaller geographic area. If you're a national business, I honestly don't know that I would choose any of these other than for retargeting purposes. For example, if I have a promotion and I want to make sure I get in front of my entire email list, all 1,000 people, let's say, I might choose reach because I want to make sure I get in front of all 1,000 people if I'm, some sort of national business. But, for the most part, my clients, they are a national business or even worldwide businesses. So it's actually very rare that we use these. I would say these are mostly objectives that are beneficial for small businesses working in small geographic areas, but also, again, it's not 100% the case that it's only for small businesses. Now, there's also two other options as well if you are going for more video views rather than anything else. You can do maximize through plays. So here it's going to get in front of people who are most likely to watch your video for at least 15 seconds, right? So regardless of whether your video is 30 seconds or 30 minutes long, it's just going to optimize for people to watch at least 15 seconds. What happens after that is completely out of the equation for the algorithm. But that is the most you can do, right? So if your goal is to maximize the watch time on your video, 15 seconds is as high as you can go. And then here, maximize 2-second continuous video plays. So basically the same exact thing. However, we're just going for those 2-second views. So it's more of a quantity versus a quality type of play. There is a time and place for both of them. I would say in most cases, I would be going with at least a 15-second view because I prefer quality over quantity. However, again, from a retargeting standpoint, sometimes maybe the 2-second view could make a little bit more sense. All right, so that's it for the awareness objective. Now let's move on to traffic. All right, traffic. So we'll click on this and you can already see it does give us a hint of what we'll be able to see. Link clicks, landing page views, Instagram profile visits, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and click on this right here and then click continue. And then we'll go here to the ad set level. It's always at the ad set level where you start seeing all of these sub objectives right here. And so here we see it is defaulting to message destination. So let's just start with that. The default here for the conversion location, by the way, I did not point that out for the awareness category, but there's two options for conversions, right? There's the conversion location and the performance goal. And depending on where you choose your conversion location, the performance goal is going to change. But let's start with message destinations since that's where it defaulted to. So here you can send traffic to Messenger, Instagram, and WhatsApp. That's the whole purpose of this right here. And so when we look at the sub goals or the performance goals, it defaults to maximize the number of link clicks. We'll try to show your ads to people most likely to click on them. So here it's not taking into account what happens after they initiate the message, right? They're just focusing on who clicks on ads. People can click on ads for all sorts of reasons. Maybe they're just, click happy and everything sparks their interest. Maybe they're accidentally clicking on ads as you're scrolling. I've done that before where I'm scrolling and accidentally thumb on an ad a little bit too much and it clicks me over to their website even though that wasn't my intention. Or maybe they do want to read like a blog post or whatever it might be. There are tons of reasons. But it doesn't care about the reason why they do it. All it cares about is that they do it, right? So whether it's intentional or accidental, it does not matter. It's just going to get in front of people who click on ads, regardless of what they do afterwards. Or you can switch it to daily unique reach. So this is what we talked about in the previous one. Same concept. You're going to maximize the number of new people that you are going to be getting in front of. Maximize the number of conversions. We'll try to show your ad to people most likely to have a conversation with you through messaging. So I think this one, when you're using this type of subject objective to the message destinations, this is probably usually the one that works best because now it is taking into account what happens after they click on the ad, right? So people can click on an ad, but if they're not the type of person that initiates a conversation through Messenger, the maximized link clicks probably doesn't make too much sense, but maximize number of conversations, that does. So now the algorithm is going to change who it gets in front of. It's going to analyze people who actually start and continue conversations in Messenger and get in front of those people. Again, it's a quantity versus quality type of thing. Usually I'm 95% of the time going for quality over quantity, but there is small cases here and there where quantity might make more sense. And then maximize the number of impressions. We'll try to show your ads to as many people as many times as possible. So again, just like what we saw previously, the same person might see the same ad 10 different times. It's not going to care about getting in front of unique people. It's just going to get you the most impressions possible. So there it is when you choose the message destinations. Now let's switch over to websites. We do get a different series of objectives. So some of them are the same. So daily unique reach, the maximize the number of conversations, and the number of impressions. All three of those are exactly the same. So I'm not going to rehash those, but I am going to come back up here for the traffic goals. There is a new one titled maximize number of landing page views. Not too dissimilar from maximize number of link clicks. However, there is an important distinction right here, which is it does analyze when you choose this one what happens after people click, right? Because if people just click here and then they immediately leave, that doesn't actually mean they made it to your page, right? Pages take a couple of seconds usually to load, right? So if you're just doing maximize number of link clicks, it's not thinking about what happens after the click. Whereas here it is. It wants to get in front of people who make it to the other page. They're willing to wait for the page to load, whether it's 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Hopefully it's not more than 5 seconds, but if it is, maybe they're still willing to wait that long. And so this, again, it's a quality versus quantity type of thing. Here, you're going to get a lot more link clicks, but probably a lot less quality. Here, you're going to get a lot of fewer link clicks, but better quality going over to your landing page. So again, it all depends on what you're doing. So for example, if you're sending traffic to a third-party website that you don't control and you have no pixel on, then number of link clicks actually is the best option for you to use because there's no pixel for you on that website. But if you're sending them to your website where you do have a pixel, then probably landing page views is going to make sense the vast majority of the time because it's going to be a higher caliber person that the algorithm will get in front of. All right, cool. So now let's move on to Instagram or Facebook. So here actually we don't get any sub-objectives. So it defaults to maximize number of Instagram profile visits. It also should be saying Facebook on there, and you just make sure that you select your Instagram and Facebook profiles. And so if you just want to increase the number of people visiting your profiles with the hope and intention that they'll maybe start following you, then this is a great option for you to choose. And then there's calls, very clear and obvious what this one is. If you are a business that benefits from phone calls coming in, for example, if you're an emergency roof repair business, an emergency plumber, this could be a really great option for you. And so it's just going to try to get as in front of as many people who do initiate phone calls. It's probably going to be an older demographic because the younger demographic doesn't like hopping on the phone. So do keep that in mind. If your target audience is a younger demographic, you may not get the best results for this. All right, now let's move on to engagement. All right, here we go with engagement. So let's go ahead and check some of these out. As you can see, I'm not covering how to build a campaign. If you are curious on how to build a campaign from beginning to end, you can go ahead and check out the video that I'm sharing here in the corner at this moment. But let's go here, and now we are with the engagement objective. So once again, we can choose the conversion location, and then based upon the conversion location, we can modify the performance goal. So let's leave it at message destination. So we already have seen this in the previous one as well for the traffic objective. So here, maximize the number of conversations. Same thing as we saw last time. I know it's super weird, like what's the point of having traffic and also engagement and they both have the same sub goal? Honestly, I actually don't really have like the best answer for that. The only thing I can think of is that they don't want you to be pigeonholed and think that you have to go to a specific category for a specific performance goal. So for example, if you're brand new, it could be beneficial to you to be able to click on, 3 different goals and you see the same performance goal in all 3 of them. It's easier for you to kind of learn the platform that way. Once you kind of become more accustomed to it, it does seem a little bit pointless and redundant, but that's kind of the only reason I can think why they would do it. So I'm not going to rehash what you get with maximize number of conversations. It's exactly as it was before. And also same thing with maximize number of link clicks. No difference right there. So let's go ahead and click and modify the destination. So because this is the engagement ad, the destination can just be your ad itself, right? So that's what this one is right here. Get people to watch video or interact with your post or event. So if you want video views, if you want comments, if you want likes, if you want shares, then this is the message destination that you want to be choosing for that specific ad. And then here we get a couple of different, not only engagement types, but then performance goals. So again, it's always evolving based upon the option that you choose here. So we have 4 different engagement types. You can do video views, post engagement, event responses, or reminders set. So video views, maximize number of through plays, 15 seconds. We discussed that before. And then also maximize 2-second continuous video plays, same as it was before. So if you do want video, then this is the option that you want to be choosing. I usually go with through plays, but again, there can be time and place for everything. Now, when I have video in mind, we saw this same video view stuff for the traffic objective. Sorry, not for the traffic, for the awareness objective. I typically choose engagement because that's just where my mind goes. I want people to engage with my ad. Therefore, I choose engagement, and then I come here and I choose video views. But again, if you choose the awareness, you're going to get the same exact options. Calls. Very simple and straightforward. You cannot modify this just as we did before. If you want to be getting people dialing your business, while obviously you are hopefully there, then this is the option that you want to be choosing. Website, you can go ahead and click on this. You can choose maximize the number of conversions. So you can actually use this for a conversion campaign. Now, typically people associate the leads objective and the sales objective with conversion campaigns. However, with the engagement objective, you can actually run a conversion ad. Now, I don't recommend it simply because I have nothing to prove this, by the way, what I'm about to say. However, I think the algorithm does do a better job at optimizing for conversions when you choose one of the other conversion specific objectives, such as leads or sales. Whereas here, you're choosing engagement, so it is probably going to give it a slightly different tilt in terms of how it optimizes for your ads. So again, I don't necessarily recommend it, but you certainly can do it. It is an option. And then landing page views, link clicks, unique reach, and impressions. We have covered each and every single one of those already in this video. There is no change to any of those right here. So if you want to achieve any of those objectives for the reasons we already discussed, you can go ahead and select them right here. All right, switching over to app, actually it does not even let me choose the app option because you can only choose app promotion for any type of app related conversion objective. Honestly, I'm not even sure why they put this right here. So it is what it is. But then you can go to Instagram or Facebook. So we did see some similar ones to this before. Maximize Instagram profile engagement. Now this is a little bit different because with the previous one, it was to optimize for Instagram profile visits. Here it's Instagram profile engagement. So it says right here, we'll try to get to show your ads to people most likely to visit or follow your profile. So if you want follows on your Instagram profile, this actually is the better option. However, if you want them just to visit your profile, check things out, then perhaps the other one we discussed earlier is better. And then maximize the number of page likes. That one's very straightforward for your Facebook page. If you want more page likes, then you can choose this option. It's actually a very convenient option for that objective because they literally just click on the ad itself. It says like this page. They don't even need to visit your page. And now all of a sudden you have a new Facebook page follower. All right, so we are halfway through the broad categories of conversion objectives. We've done awareness, traffic, and engagement. Next up, we have leads, app promotion, and sales. But before we go over those categories, I did want to let you know that if you are looking for professionals to manage and optimize your ad campaigns and take them to the next level, we are taking on clients right now. And the great news is that we have all sorts of plans regardless of where you are at with your business. So if you're a brand new business that is just getting started with ads and only spending very little money, or if you're a seasoned business spending tons of money on ads, we have a package and option that is going to fit your needs at this moment. So I have a link for that in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. All right, so here we are with leads, the first true conversion objective. Like I said before, you actually can do some sort of conversions campaign with engagement. I don't actually ever choose that, but again, just for a true conversion campaign, leads is the first one we have coming up. So jumping over to the ad set level. So right here, again, it's always going to change, what the default conversion location is, but I'm actually going to start at the top because there's a bunch right here. So just to kind of keep things organized and in order, let's go with website and instant forms. If we scroll down to here, I actually cannot change the conversion objective or the performance goal at this moment. If I select my data set, it still won't let me do that, but I can choose my conversion event right here. Sorry, I cannot choose my conversion event, I meant to say, because we're choosing the leads objective. So it defaults over to leads right here for the conversion event. So when you choose this option, you do need to have the lead events set up for your conversion, whatever that might be, and you have to have an instant form set up and available. I have separate videos for those, so I will link them for you right here so you can go ahead and check them out. All right, website. This one is more straightforward, so it defaults to maximize the number of conversions, and then once you choose the conversion event, you can choose either lead or any of the other conversion style events that are not a purchase. So whether that's a custom conversion or it's one of the other standard events, schedule, search, trial. It's 100% up to you. You get to choose what you actually end up selecting right here. And so you want to choose this one for anything that requires people giving you their name and their email information, and then you can choose kind of what falls best under that category, whether that's subscribe or submit application or start trial, whatever it might be. I mean, really 99% of the time I'm using the leads standard event, or I'm using some sort of custom conversion. It's very, very rare that I use any of these other ones right here, but they also all kind of achieve the same general thing. For any of these standard events or custom conversions, you either have to create the custom conversion. So for any of these standard events or custom conversions, you either have to create the custom conversion or make sure that the standard event is installed on your website. Website and calls, let's go ahead and click on this one right here. So again, maximize the number of conversions. That is not changing. And also I cannot change my conversion event here. It defaults to lead. So again, you do have to have the lead event installed on your website. So I'm not going to cover this because we've already hashed this out what this means. But if you want both people submitting information, name and email, and giving you a call, then this is the one you want to choose. Instant forms, if you want people to completely skip your website and just fill out an instant form, then this is an option for you. If you don't know what an instant form is, what it does is that when people click on the ad, as opposed to redirecting them to a website, it'll open up a form right there on the platform. They fill out their information, and then boom, they can kind of continue scrolling after they are done with that. Very fast, very seamless. I usually have not been a fan of instant forms in the past. However, there has been a recent update that has made it possible to increase the quality of people coming through instant forms. So I think it is certainly a viable option now at this point. Well, here for the performance goal, I can choose either maximize number of leads or maximize number of conversion leads. So what the heck does that mean? So let's read the descriptions. We'll try to show you your ads to the people most likely to share their contact information for you. So here, this is the standard thing that we think of when we think of maximize number of leads, right? So you have a contact form, name, email, boom, that's what you want. Here for this one, maximize number of conversion leads, we'll try to show your ads to people most likely to convert after sharing their contact information with you. So if there's another conversion event that you're looking for after they share their information, then this is the one you want to be choosing. It is a very interesting option. So for example, if people initially fill out a form, and then once they fill out the form, they get redirected to an option to book a call with you, for example, and if you want to be optimizing for the booked calls rather than the form filled out, then this is the option that you want to be choosing from. So if there's something further down the funnel that you want to be optimizing for, then that's when you want to choose maximize number of conversion leads right there. Messenger, this is going to be pretty straightforward because we've already talked about these right here, and so I'm not going to rehash the options. That actually does not even let you choose what the option is here. So actually, no, I will rehash this here in a little because it is slightly different, right? So for the other ones, whenever we've talked about Messenger, it was just having a conversation, and that conversation could go any direction, right? So they could just say hello, you say hello back, and then who knows where it goes from there. However, here, when you're using the leads objective and you're using Messenger as the destination, it's optimizing to get in front of people who not only initiate conversations, but also give their contact information through Messenger, right? So you're gonna have a sequence set up. What's your name? What's your email? What's your phone number? And so it wants to get in front of people who actually are willing to share that information. So it is actually different than the other ones you have chosen. So if you want that very specific information, their contact information, and you want to send people to Messenger, this is the one that you want to choose. Instant form and Messenger, it's literally just a combination of these two right here. So I'm not going to really rehash that. For these types of campaigns, we've seen a few of these before where it's a website instant forms and Messenger. And honestly, in my opinion, they get kind of messy and clunky. So I'm not a huge fan of them. However, if you do want to consolidate and not have separate campaigns, then, that could be an option as to why you would choose that option. Instagram. So here, this is the same thing as Messenger, but as opposed to reaching out to you on Messenger, they are reaching out to you through the Instagram messaging platform. And again, maximize number of leads is the performance goal. So it's going to be getting in front of people who give their contact information over Messenger. WhatsApp, same exact thing. However, as opposed to being FB Messenger or Instagram Messenger, now it's WhatsApp. But again, it's going to get in front of people who give their contact information. And then calls as well, generate leads by asking people to call your business. Here, there is no optimization or thought process in terms of, oh, is it people who give you their contact information over a phone call? Because there's no way for them to know that, at least not yet. I don't think it's ever going to get that to that point where it can track what's being said in phone calls, but who knows? Technology can be crazy. But this phone calls objective, it's no different than any of the other ones that we've seen so far. And then app, again, I don't know why it gives you the app option right here, because anything app related needs to be with the app promotion objective. And speaking of the ad promotion objective, that is the next one. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so let's go ahead and click app promotion right here. So pretty straightforward. If you have an app, this could be an option. Now, full disclosure, I have never used this objective ever because my clients don't have apps. So there's been no reason for me to ever utilize this. So I really can't go into deep detail in terms of, what the best sub objectives are. So I'm going to keep this very broad and very general. But again, if you have an app and your goal is to promote the app, you probably want to go with app promotion. It probably makes sense. So let's go ahead and check this out. So go over to new app promotion. So you choose your app store, Google Play App Store, Facebook Canvas, Amazon App Store, whatever it might be, right? And then here you can choose between maximize the number of app events. We'll try to show your ads to the people most likely to take a specific action in your app at least once. So whatever that action is, whether it's playing a game, if that's what you're trying to promote, or buy something, then that's something that you can optimize for. If you simply want people to install your app and you're not necessarily concerned about what happens after that, then you want to go with maximize the number of app installs, or you can go with the maximize number of link clicks. Again, this is going to be the same exact thing. However, the difference is that when people click on the ad, right, it's going to take them to whatever app store that you have selected here, whether it's Google Play or whatever it might be. And then, whether or not they install it there or do an app event, that's irrelevant in terms of how the algorithm optimizes. So again, it's a quality versus quantity thing. Quality, you're going to get better quality with these two. If you want quantity, you're going to go with this one right here. We have covered a lot of objectives. We have one overarching category left, so I appreciate you sticking with me. Let's go ahead and dive into sales. All right, sales. So when you want people to give you their hard-earned dollars, this is the one you select right here. So let's go ahead and click continue, and let's go check out the options that we have right here. So let's start at the top, and we're going to make our way down right here, website and shop. So here people can either buy your product directly from your website, or if you have a shop on Facebook itself, which you can do especially for e-commerce businesses, then this is the one you want to be choosing right here. Conversion events will be defaulting to purchase, but here maximize the number of conversions. So if you just want as many purchases as possible, that's the one you want to choose. If you want to choose a different one though, you can go with a maximize value of conversions. So this is a really great option to consider if you're an e-commerce store and you have a bunch of different products, right? So if you want fewer purchases but more dollars being spent per purchase, this could be the option for you, right? Because as opposed to a bunch of people buying a $20 product and you're trying to maximize the volume of that, what if you have only a few core products, but you want people to be buying all of them? Then you choose this one right here, right? So your average cart value, as opposed to being $20, maybe it's $80 or $100 or whatever it might be, right? So here, again, you're going for the highest purchase value for every single transaction, whereas with this one right here, it doesn't take any of the value into account. It's only trying to get as many purchases as possible. So I think both of these are perfectly viable options depending on what your specific goal is. And then down here, you can also switch it to maximize number of link clicks, unique reach, or impressions. All three of those are exactly the same as we've discussed before, so I will not rehash those right here. Website and app, pretty much exactly the same thing here as we just saw. However, as opposed to your website and shop being an option to make a purchase, here it's your website and your app where they can make purchases right there. If we go down here, the options do go away. It no longer shows number of conversions and value of conversions. Again, I'm not an app expert because I've never promoted an app, but my guess is that the reason that they only have link clicks, reach, and impressions is that app value, purchase transaction value, or even a purchase transaction can't really be tracked inside the app or that information relayed back to Facebook. That's my guess. Again, I'm not an app person. I've never promoted an app in my life, so I can't really say, but just do be aware that the only options you have now are link clicks, unique reach, and impressions when you do website and app. Website and in-store. So you can use this conversion objective, but here to use this conversion location, improve the quality of offline data connected to your catalog. So you do have to go through a whole process to be able to use this conversion objective in the first place. So you can go to Events Manager. I'm not going to do this right here because that's a whole separate training and video right there, but I just want you to know that it is possible for you to choose this option if, for example, you have a website and you have an in-person store and you want to be optimizing for both. You just have to go through a couple different steps in Events Manager to be able to track those offline conversions, but it is possible for you to select this. And then single conversion location, drive sales to one conversion location, such as a website, app, or calls. So for me, I'm actually using, so if you don't want to do a combo right here, website and shop, website and app, website and in-store, then this is what you want to choose. This is what I do 99% of the time, website for sales. It's very rare that I do like website and shop, for example, even though my clients do have websites and shops many times. It's just easier and cleaner for me to be able to manage things when they're going to a single location. But hey, you know what? To each their own. It's all up to you. But here, when I select this, we do see the same values as before: maximize the number of conversions, maximize the value of conversions, and then the link clicks, reach, and number of impressions. If I switch this over to apps, I only have the options of link clicks, unique reach, and I do have maximize number of conversions. We did not see that one earlier. Again, because of the fact that I'm not an app person, I can't really explain why here we do have the option of maximize the number of conversions, but here for website and app, it doesn't give me that option. Again, I don't know apps, so I can't really say why that is. And then of course calls. Here, once again, I think that this is probably like the 20th time it feels like that we've seen calls. No difference between this one and any of the other options that we have seen before for calls. But, again, I guess maybe that is a benefit that you can click on any of the 5 or 6 objectives, and I believe you can choose calls at some point in any of them. So, easy if that is your goal to get phone calls. All right, and there we have it. That was a gauntlet. So for those of you who have stuck around to learn all of the different meta objectives, I hope you found this video valuable. Again, it can seem overwhelming. Again, there's, I guess, technically, theoretically, over 30 different conversion objectives. But as you saw here, there is a lot of repetition in these conversion objectives. So it actually is a lot simpler than it might appear. But my main goal was to provide clarity on what objective you should choose based upon your specific goals that you want to be choosing. So I hope you found this video valuable. However, if there's anything else that you need me to clarify, just let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.